Hello, everyone. I want to get right into this because what I am about to share genuinely changed how I live. Not just how my house looks, how I live. How I feel when I wake up in the morning. How I breathe when I sit in my own living room. I discovered these 10 Japanese habits about 4 years ago after my daughter brought home a book from a trip to Kyoto. And they rebuilt my relationship with my home from the floor up. I am not exaggerating. Let me take you through every single one. Habit number 1, empty space is not a problem. It is the solution. Before I understood this, I was a filler. Every blank wall got a picture. Every clear shelf got something placed on it. Every empty corner made me uneasy, as though it was pointing at something I had failed to do. Then I read about Ma, the Japanese concept of intentional empty space, the breathing room between things that allows everything around it to feel more present and alive. I read it, and then I looked at my living room, and I saw it for the first time as it actually was, loud. Not noisy in the usual sense, but visually loud. Every surface competing for my attention, every corner demanding to be noticed, and all of it somehow adding up to a kind of exhaustion I had been living inside of for so long, I had stopped recognizing it as exhaustion. I started small. I picked the bookshelf beside my front door and cleared the top 2 shelves entirely. Just left them bare, wiped clean. For 3 days, I felt a vague discomfort every time I passed it. On the 4th day, I walked past it and stopped. The morning light was sitting on that shelf like it belonged there. I stood there for probably 2 full minutes just looking at it, and something in my chest was quiet. That was the moment I understood what Ma actually meant. Those shelves have been empty for 4 years now. They are my favorite thing in my entire home. Tell me in the comments, is there one spot in your home that you keep filling no matter what, and you have never quite asked yourself why? Habit number 2, thank things before you let them go. I have to be honest with you. I was not a graceful declutterer before this habit. I was a guilt-ridden one. I would pick up an old serving dish or a sweater someone gave me and feel immediate, complicated guilt about releasing it, which usually meant I just put it back and moved on to something easier. The Japanese practice of expressing gratitude to objects before releasing them, acknowledging what they gave you, what purpose they served, before you let them go, sounds unusual if you have never heard of it, but it completely dissolved my guilt. The first time I tried it, I was holding a coat I had not worn in 6 years. It had belonged to someone I loved who was no longer alive. I held it and I thought about what it had meant, and I said thank you out loud, just quietly to myself. And I folded it carefully and put it in the donation box. I did not feel guilt. I felt something more like completion, like I had closed a chapter properly instead of just walking away from it. Every release since then has felt the same way. The guilt was never actually about the object. It was about the letting go. Gratitude transforms that moment from loss into honor. If this habit resonates with you, I would love to know. Leave me a comment telling me one object you've been holding on to for reasons you cannot quite explain. You might be surprised what writing it down does. Habit number 3, store everything vertically so you can see it all at once. This one is practical and immediate, and I wish someone had shown it to me 40 years ago. The Japanese method of vertical storage. folding clothing small and standing it upright side by side in drawers like books on a shelf, storing utensils upright in containers, filing documents standing in folders, changed every drawer in my home in a single weekend. Before this, I stacked everything, sweaters in flat piles, towels in tall columns, papers layered one on top of another. To find anything, I had to disturb everything, and the digging and the bending and the inevitable reshuffling left me tired in a way I had normalized completely. The morning after I reorganized my clothing drawers vertically, I opened my sock drawer and could see every single pair at a glance without touching a thing. I genuinely laughed. Not at anything in particular, just at the pleasure of it. Everything visible, nothing hidden, nothing requiring effort to reach. For those of us whose bodies do not love deep bending and repeated lifting, this is more than an organizational preference. It is a genuine kindness to yourself. Habit number 4, one in, one out, always. After working hard to create a calmer, less crowded home, I needed a way to make sure it stayed that way. The one in, one out habit is exactly what it sounds like. Whenever something new enters my home, something that has completed its purpose leaves. Not as punishment, not as restriction, but as rhythm. As a way of keeping the balance I had worked to build. What surprised me most about this habit was how profoundly it changed the way I shop. I will pick something up in a store and ask myself immediately, what would I release to make room for this? That question alone has made me put more things back on shelves than I can count. Not because I was being frugal, but because when I actually thought about what I owned that had finished its purpose, I often could not think of anything ready to leave. And if nothing is ready to go, then this new thing is not yet ready to arrive. My home stopped slowly filling up. It reached a kind of equilibrium and stayed there. If you are already subscribed, thank you. Your presence here means everything to me. And if you have not subscribed yet, I want to gently invite you to do it now. I share these kinds of real, lived, practical discoveries every week, and I would love for you to be here for all of them. Habit number 5, listen to what your objects are telling you. This is the habit that is easiest to dismiss as too poetic and hardest to forget once you have actually tried it. The Japanese idea that objects hold energy, that they have a presence in a room that goes beyond their physical size, is one I was skeptical about until I started walking through my home with a different kind of attention. Instead of looking at my belongings, I started listening to them, asking each one, does this still belong to who I am today? Some objects answered immediately and clearly, yes. A lamp I have loved for 20 years, a chair that is perfectly shaped to my body after decades of use, a photograph that still catches my breath when I look at it. And some objects had gone quiet, a decorative plate I had not consciously seen in 2 years, a vase that lived on the kitchen windowsill as pure habit rather than intention. Objects that had once been full of meaning, but had slowly become part of the visual noise of my daily life. Releasing them was not sad. It was like turning off a sound I had forgotten I was hearing. Habit number 6, tend to one small surface every single morning. This is the habit that has given me the most consistent daily peace, and also the simplest to start. Every morning, before anything else, I choose one small surface, a counter, a corner table, the bathroom shelf beside the sink, and I tend to it. A wipe, a gentle straightening, a small, deliberate act of care. 5 minutes, sometimes less. This daily practice, rooted in the Japanese tradition of cleaning as respect rather than obligation, changed the entire emotional rhythm of my mornings. Before this habit, cleaning felt reactive. Things accumulated until they demanded attention, and then I dealt with them under a low cloud of resentment. Now, tending to one small surface every morning means the accumulation never builds. My home stays at a baseline of calm, without any session of effort ever feeling like a burden. And beginning my day with one quiet, purposeful act of care for my space sets a tone that carries through everything that follows. I move through the day differently. I arrive at the evening differently. Habit number 7. Let your home breathe with the seasons. I spent most of my adult life with a home that looked essentially the same in January as it did in July. The Japanese tradition of shun, arranging your home in harmony with the natural rhythm of the year, does not require buying anything new. It simply requires rotating what you already own with attention to the time of year. In spring, I fold away heavier textiles and bring out lighter fabrics. A small vase with a flowering branch sits in the entryway for a few weeks. In summer, I remove anything that makes a room feel enclosed. Autumn brings warmer textures back, a candle, a small bowl of dried things near the kitchen. In winter, the home closes in warmly with deeper colors and quiet. None of these changes involve shopping. They involve noticing, attending, and making small shifts that cost nothing except the time to think about where you are in the year. The first time I changed my living room in rhythm with early autumn, I sat down that evening and felt something I can only describe as being in the right moment. My home and the season outside were speaking the same language. Habit number 8. Declutter by category, not by room. This was the single habit that saved me from a failure I had repeated for years. Whenever I decided to declutter, I chose a room and tried to fix it from wall to wall. Within an hour, I would be surrounded by piles from different categories, unable to make any clean decisions, and I would put everything back where it had been and feel worse than when I started. Decluttering by category changed everything. Clothing first. Every single garment from every location in my home, gathered in one place, sorted in one sitting. Then books, then papers, then miscellaneous items. Sentimental objects always last when confidence is already built from the simpler decisions. The focus this creates is extraordinary, one kind of decision at a time, with no switching between contexts. Just one clear category completed before moving to the next. I want to take a small pause here and ask you something. Are you finding this useful? If so, the most meaningful thing you can do right now, more than liking, more than sharing, is to subscribe if you have not already. It tells me that this kind of honest, experience-based conversation is something you want more of, and I want to keep bringing it to you every week. Habit number 9. Create one space in your home that holds only what you love most. The Japanese tradition of the tokonoma, a small, deliberately curated space that holds one or two objects of deep personal meaning, sounds simple and is simple, and its effect on the entire feeling of a room is something I did not believe until I experienced it myself. The principle is this: when everything in your home is displayed with equal prominence, nothing is truly seen. When you give a single meaningful object the gift of its own quiet space, with nothing competing beside it, it becomes visible in a completely different way. It speaks. I found my tokonoma on a small table beside my reading lamp. I cleared it completely and placed there only one thing, a photograph taken in my parents' garden the summer I was 12 years old. Nothing else. Just that photograph in a simple frame on a clean surface. That table with that single image now anchors the entire room for me. I look at it every day. Visitors always pause near it. Something quiet and alive lives in that space that was not there before. Not because the photograph changed, but because it finally has room to be seen. Choose one object you love deeply. Find it a small space of its own. Clear everything else away and simply let it be there. See what happens. Habit number 10. Understand that caring for your home is an act of self-respect. This is the habit that changed not what I did, but why I did it. And that shift in understanding made all the other 9 habits sustainable in a way they would not have been otherwise. I grew up believing that housekeeping was an obligation, something you did because it was expected, something that, if you fell behind on, reflected poorly on you as a person. The weight of that understanding made me dread the whole enterprise, which meant I did it reactively, with resistance, and never particularly well. The Japanese philosophy that Yuki, a woman I met through a community program in my town, shared with me was completely different. She said, "The way you care for your home is the way you care for yourself." Not a moral judgment, an observation. When you live in a home that drains you, that requires constant management, that holds more than it can breathe with, you are spending energy every single day on resistance rather than ease. Clearing that friction is not housekeeping as obligation. It is self-respect in action. When I began treating my home as something I tended with care because I deserved to live in a peaceful space, the entire experience of maintaining it changed. It became lighter. It became mine in a way it had not been before. At 70, I have finished spending my energy on things that do not serve the life I am still actively, joyfully living. These 10 habits have given me something I did not have a name for until I found it: ease inside my own home. Not perfection, not minimalism, not the kind of spare aesthetic you see in design magazines, just ease. The kind that means I sit down in the evening and nothing in the room is asking anything of me. The kind that means I wake up in the morning and the first thing I feel in my home is welcome. I want to hear from you now. In the comments, tell me which of these 10 habits is the one you most need right now. Is it the empty space? Learning to leave a shelf bare and let it breathe? Is it the gratitude practice? Finally being able to release something you have been holding out of guilt rather than love? Is it the seasonal rhythm, the vertical drawers, the single curated surface? Tell me. And if you have already tried one of these in your own home, even in a small way, please share what happened. Your experience is exactly the kind of encouragement that someone else sitting quietly on the other side of this screen needs to hear today. And if you are not yet subscribed and this conversation has felt like something you want more of, more real, lived, practical wisdom shared person to person, please subscribe now. It is the simplest way to tell me you want to keep talking. I read every comment. I see every one of you. And I will see you next week.